fantastic. So hi, Rich. I'm so
Hi.
delighted that you're happy to have a chat with me and share your experiences on this session. Yeah, and I just wanted to really say thank you for agreeing to do it and being part of the Career Redesign alumni. You're the first one I'm sort of interviewing about
Okay, I'm honoured.
yeah. Hopefully, well, many people have been through it, but I don't think everyone's so comfortable on video, actually.
Yeah, okay, fair enough. I understand that.
So look, honestly, all I'd love to do is just have a chat with you. You share some of your experiences. I have written down a couple of questions, but I think it will probably flow quite naturally when we get started.
Perfect. Yeah.
So just to start us off, maybe paint a bit of a picture around where were you, before you joined Career Redesign and what led you to it?
Okay, so I had been living in the Middle East for 21 years. I had gone out there to teach in 2001, wanting to stay maximum 2 years. And then, of course, met my partner there. And 21 years later, there we were still in Dubai. And we had a window of opportunity to live our dream, to live in France, to live in the south of France. And that window of opportunity was closing. So we had made the decision that we were leaving Dubai after all those years and creating a new life for ourselves elsewhere. My partner was very, very happy and very ready to do that. I was not. When I met you, Charlie, I had already resigned from my job. So the move was happening, but I was in a very, very difficult place with accepting the move and the transition. Although it was going to live our dream in a new place, I was really, really struggling with what I was leaving behind. And once enjoying my job, actually being in a place where I was really enjoying my career. I was a primary school teacher and very, very happy in the classroom, not wanting to climb the ladder up to deputy and headship, but I was happy in the school that I was working in. I was teaching some really great kids and it was in a really comfortable place. But I also knew that that's not what I wanted to do for the next 20 years. And I did want to find a new adventure and something equally as inspiring, which is why I came to you, because I just couldn't see the woods for the trees. It was a really difficult place. And I don't know if you remember our first meeting, but I was all over the place. It was really very, very emotional, just totally stuck, completely stuck.
Yeah, actually I do remember, and there was all of that. There was a sense, but I love what I'm doing. I don't want to keep going any higher. I like where I am, and yet
and that was
I'm moving on.
That was a difficult thing, because I think very often people will be searching for something else because they're fed up with what they're doing. I was not in that position, which I think was a little bit different to other people. I was searching for something else, but I was still enjoying what I was doing. But I knew that there was something else that I could find enjoyment from, something else that I meant to do for the remainder of my working years.
Yeah, no, I remember that. And as we spoke more, there was like this sense of there's something more for me to do, to give.
Yes,
to be.
Absolutely.
Okay, so yeah, I do remember, and it was that sense of stuckness. And when I meet people, quite often, whether you'd taken the decision to resign, quite often people are stuck in that, I don't know what to do, I don't know if I can. But so you had decided to resign, and then it was this, oh no. So what next? So how did you find me? How did that come around?
So I found you through a friend of mine here in France who had been doing some coaching with you as well. I'm not sure how she found you, but she recommended you to my sister, who actually said to me, you need to get some coaching. You need to be coached through this. Just pay the money and do it. And so that's how I reached out to you. And then we had our initial meeting, and we had a rapport with each other. And that was when I made the decision, yes, I'm actually just going to spend this money on myself. I was holding on to everything at that point and not wanting to spend any money at all, because I had budgeted for not working for a while, and I was holding on to everything, and not just financially, but I think I was just holding on to everything in my life, and actually letting go of the cost for this was quite liberating.
Yeah, actually, I remember that there was this sense of holding on really tight, because you were enjoying what you were doing, you were enjoying Dubai, and it was the change. So just tell me a little bit about the Rich sort of before doing this work, the sense of holding on, and maybe where you are now.
Okay, so I was enjoying my life in Dubai, but every year was the same. And I was living through an endless cycle of school years. And I talked to you before about the fact that I had started going to school at the age of 4, then finished school, then gone to university, back into an academic cycle, and then straight back into the school. So I have lived in September to July years for 41 years. And I was looking back at my time in Dubai, and I was unable to really figure out what we'd done in each particular year, because everything seemed to merge into this endless annual cycle of school year, school year, school year, this holiday, the next holiday, the next holiday. And that was why I did have the sense of, whilst I was enjoying my job, I needed to do something different because everything was looking the same. But I was in a very, very comfortable position. I was on a very well-paid job. We had a nice home in Dubai. Everything was comfortable and everything was completely safe. And there were no risks taken at all in my life, ever. I'm averse to risk. And it was very safe. I think my life was very, very safe and very comfortable. And I needed to step out of that. And, I had taken the decision to step out of it. But once I'd taken that decision to step out, I just felt like I was in free fall. And that was where, the transition started, with moving away from the comfortable, safe existence to something exciting and new. But I wasn't at the point of being able to see exciting and new at all.
Yeah. I remember we talk about this, the comfort, stretch and panic zone, which is like rings of a bullseye. And it felt like you'd gone from your comfort zone into the panic zone.
Yeah.
And it was like, how do we get you back into that stretch, that exciting?
And it was a perpetuating cycle of panic after panic after panic. And, I've never been a person that's really suffered with anxiety, but I was having anxiety. I was having worry in the middle of the night. I was having a horrible feeling in my tummy. All those feelings of complete anxiety and panic of, what the hell's going to happen next?
Yeah, the unknowns, sure. And so if that's where you were, how did doing the career redesign program help you?
So I remember doing workshops in school over the years and talking about the school values and the school drivers and all this kind of stuff. And people saying, well, what are your values? And you would be, oh, yeah, it's this, this, and this. And actually, do you know what? I didn't know much about myself until I started this program, and actually to figure out what my values and what my drivers are personally, rather than through the organization that I'm working for, was really very powerful. I discovered so many things about myself that were in plain sight and right there in front of me, but I was unable to see and recognize. And once I started to unpick those aspects of myself, particularly with my personal values and what my life's purpose is, things really started to unfold very, very rapidly for me. But I think of identifying, one of the most powerful things right at the beginning of the process was identifying what my personal values were and actually trying to pin it down to 3. And I went backwards and forwards with them and still keep coming back to them and thinking, is that really correct? And at the moment, I think, yes, it is correct. And actually to identify many of the behaviors and frustrations I'd had in work, once I'd identified what those values were, I was able to see, that's why that period of my working life was particularly difficult, because that was being challenged. Yeah. And it really unlocked so much for me from my working life in particular, that had been important. And what I jumped up and down about in school and ranted and raved about and tried to encourage everybody else to get on board with, I was then able to realize, that's why I do that. So I learned a lot about myself very, very early on.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. It's so true. They say, because they're always there. They're just unconscious or subconscious.
Yes.
And when we bring them into the light, we're like, oh, this is what's driving me.
It just made so much sense. It pieced so much of my life together for me. And one of the things I did love about Dubai, even though, okay, it's an oppressive police state, I lived in a very, very dynamic and international community. And that was one of the things I was so worried about leaving and giving up, but because that element of being surrounded by people from other cultures and other nationalities and languages and all this this kind of stuff was so enriching for me. And to actually unpick that as one of my values was a light bulb moment for me. And to also realize, yes, you're going to leave this environment, but that can be achieved elsewhere as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I do remember that, and then that word enriching really, brings back a lot of memories around our discussions, and then where you wanted to go in the future. Because when you said, when we met, you were really, really stuck, and then that sort of deep self-knowledge that you started to get, an understanding of values, and so something started to shift for you at that point. And what was it that you started to discover then?
So what I started to discover was that I suppose there were two prongs of where I thought I was going to be going. There was where I thought I should be going into a new career, and where my passions would take me into a new career. And I kept pushing myself down the road of where I thought I should be going, maybe where I thought other people thought I should be going, what I should be doing. And thanks to you, Charlie, you kept bringing me back to what are your values and what is it that excites you and inspires you. And there was one particular week that we had a session where we discussed about the fact that once you do what brings you joy, abundance will follow. And then once we discussed that and unpicked that, I saw that same message so many times in the following week. And that was another real revelation to me of, I really need to do what excites me and not what I think I should be doing or what I think other people think I should be doing. It was really, it was very powerful.
Thank you. Yeah, so I guess so if we were to reflect back, when we met, there was this sense of stuckness. You said, I was all over the place, and you were going through that big transition, and now you have moved and you're in France. So how would you say you're different now, or things are different now?
I think I'm very much aware of what I'm living by my values now and understanding the frustration. So for example, last weekend, I met my parents in Switzerland last weekend. My mother was going on about something and I made some comment, which I would never, ever normally do. And she got all huffy about it. And I thought, actually, do you know what? All I'm doing there is I'm sticking to what one of my values is. And it was a value of understanding and cultural understanding. And it was a moment for me. And I thought, do you know what? I'm not sorry for what I said. I was just sticking to what I'm doing, to what I stand for. And I've never really been one of those people who's had opinions before. And I'm not saying I've turned into a really opinionated person, but I was able to identify the reason I felt strongly about that was because of the values that I've identified by myself. Also, I feel a lot more relaxed about things now as well. I've done a lot of work with you. I've done a lot of work independently myself about being more mindful, living more in the moment, figuring out what brings me joy and trying to work towards those things. And I think I'm far more relaxed about things now. I've figured out, I've budgeted for a certain amount of time to not be working. And I'm really just actually enjoying every day at the moment and every moment and trying very, very hard to be conscious in every moment. When I was in my school life, it was start work on a Sunday, we used to work Sunday to Thursday, start on a Sunday and think, there's only so many days to the weekend. And I was constantly counting down to the weekend. Sunday or Saturday night would come, which was the night before work. And I would have that dreaded feeling, I'm going back to work tomorrow. And I messaged you the other week, actually, when it was a Sunday evening and I was out on a bike ride on the coast and said, those Sunday evening feelings have gone because I don't have to go to work tomorrow. And actually, I'm not counting down to anything, or I'm not saying, it's only so many weeks till the next holiday, or it's so many days or hours until we're going to be doing this. I'm actually enjoying every single day. And that's something that I've never, ever done in my life. I have enjoyed every day, but not actually being in the moment. There was always a countdown to what's the next big thing that we're doing. And that's gone away. And, 21 years in Dubai slipped away very, very, very fast. And it makes me conscious of we are only here for a certain amount of time and we have to live every moment. And that's what I'm doing at the moment. And I'm enjoying every single day.
Wow. Well, that is phenomenal. And as you were speaking then, I was reminded about, I worked with some people sort of during lockdown, and they were given this time on furlough where
Yeah,
actually they couldn't work, they had money, and they were given this time, and yet there were some people who couldn't relax and enjoy it.
because I've never had time before.
Yeah, and the fear and the worry, and I think that was a little bit where we met. It was like you had given yourself this time, you'd budgeted, you knew what was coming, and yet the fear and the worry of what will happen sort of overrode everything. And actually, fundamentally, since then, nothing's changed. In a sense, you have relocated, of course, everything's changed, but it sounds to me like there's just been a shift in mindset.
Absolutely, and that was something I was very conscious of, that I was giving myself this time, but I was worried, because I would be an eternal worrier. I was worried that the time would just slip away and nothing would be done with it. Whereas I've got we put together a very clear plan for the next 12 months about what I'm going to be doing for each set of 3 months. And, I've got a very clear plan moving forwards now. So every day isn't slipping away, and I am doing something every single day that's building towards a new life and a new career.
Yeah, and that's it. We've got this you've got this big vision that you're
Yes.
working towards.
Whereas before I had a vision, but every time I had a vision, I had 100 different voices that would pop into my head about why that wouldn't work. And so, it was self-defeatist all the time. Every time I came up with an idea, there was 100 reasons why it wasn't a good idea. And now I'm coming up with ideas and thinking, okay, well, let's see this through and see whether it works or not. What do I need to do, and what are the gaps that I have to fill? Where do I need to upskill myself? And that's what I've been doing. Every day I'm doing something new and trying to acquire new skills and new ways that I haven't used before. Coming from a teaching career, I mean, another thing that you helped me identify was that I saw myself as just a teacher. I've trained as a teacher. I've only ever taught. I can't do anything else. And actually, to unpick the skills that I have from that teaching career are huge. There's a huge amount of skills. Yeah. I mean, I started a training video on LinkedIn this week, and I was like, oh, this is just so obvious, because this is what I would do on a daily basis. This is all the stuff that I was doing in school. And so it's actually taking those skills from my teaching career and applying them into something new. But before I was totally unable to see what skills I had and how they could be applied elsewhere.
Yeah. And that's somewhere where when I meet people, they've shifted into their heads completely and become really disconnected from their bodies, and they're trying to think their way out of everything. And yet this body wisdom and this ability, what I heard from you was like, now I have a thought and I go, yep, I can do this, or actually there's a gap here and I'll plug the gap, and not allowing all of that negative automatic thinking to come in and pull you down.
Yeah,
that's where we end in the spirals.
And that's where I was right at the beginning. I was in that endless spiral of, here's an idea, here's 100 reasons why not to do that. And then you can't pull yourself out of it. So I have pulled myself out of that now, and I'm working on ideas, and if they don't work, that's fine. I can work on other things. It's, I have to try stuff, and I've really firmly stepped outside of my comfort zone. And even this morning, I was messaging a colleague back in Dubai and saying, I'm missing you all. I love the camaraderie in work, and I genuinely liked many of the people that I worked with. But to have this time for myself is the gift that I've given myself. It's they're still doing exactly what we're doing year after year, and that's fine for them at this time. But I'm very, very conscious of how not lucky, because I've given myself the gift, but how fortunate I am to have this time to work on myself. It's superb.